In today's Warcrow topic, we are going to be talking about the Intact, who are part of the Scions of Yaldabaoth faction in Warcrow. So the Intact are humans, and they are part of a progenitor's family. The progenitor, for the purposes of this, is going to be the head honcho elf. We can talk about the progenitors later on in kind of this series about the Scions of Yaldabaoth. The Intact have no body modifications, and they are ashamed of this because within the context of the Scions, you have basically humans and elves. Elves kind of are the topper tier of things, and then humans are kind of wanting to elevate themselves. The humans will eventually get different body modifications, and you will get introduced to these different units as I go through the Scions faction and lore, but the Intact are kind of the lowest of the low. They have no body modifications at all, and they are ashamed of this. And so what they do is to cover themselves in the remains of other creatures. These can be things like bones, skin, severed limbs of beasts or victims, and this helps them look like what they eventually want to become. All right, and the Scions see this. They see these acts as kind of simple and crude transformations. And because the progenitors are elves, right, these kind of dark-minded elves, they know that they kind of believe that humans have poor imagination, or in their context, they know humans have poor imagination, but they see it as kind of a very innocent attempt, just like how a child might draw something, and it's obviously probably not going to be a masterpiece, but the parent still likes it because it's something the child did and showed to the parent, and so the progenitors still see it as a sign of respect. So aside from kind of base level combat, the Intact are able to interact with society due to them not having modifications. So even though these humans that are the Intact want to eventually have modifications, they don't right now, and it is actually helpful because they can functionally go shopping, right? They are the face of the Scions. They can go into towns. They live amongst society, right? They're kind of like the hidden quote-unquote cult fanatics. All right, they can go in, they can recruit people, they can go shopping for different veggies if they wanted, and they can even get victims for the cult, for the Scions of Yaldabaoth. It's not a cult, it's a family. Remember that. It's a family. And so that's functionally the Intact. And so they could be people who just generally want to follow a progenitor, but it also sounds like they could maybe be like murderers, like Jack the Ripper type people too, right? The progenitor can attract all different types of people. And so why are the Intact cool? Well, I think the Intact are cool because if you just look at them, they're very imposing looking, even though they're just humans, right? So even though like the Scions faction has a bunch of monstrous looking things, right? Fleshcraft and body horror stuff, the Intact are still pretty creepy looking despite them just being people, right? And I think that says something kind of about the psyche of individuals, and just, things can be scary even without them actually being like monstrous, because they have all this like dead flesh and mangled fur and bone and stuff on them. But I also really like them because they kind of represent how zeal can consume an individual to the point where these individuals are just, covering themselves in this fur and bone and stuff. And if you look at them, like their skin is like red. So I'm assuming it's like they're covering themselves in some sort of like clay or body paint as well, because they are supposed to be normal looking people, and normal looking people in Lindworm, humans, don't have like that ruddy red skin, that red skin that we see the other Scions have. So I'm thinking like they are fully kind of going full on into this kind of motif. And with that, this lore video about the Intact comes to an end. Don't forget to follow this channel to get more Warcrow lore. And if you survive the fog, I'll see you in the next video.